Hello everyone, Jeff here, and this week I am joined by Loco once again.
Hello, hello.
And this week we're going to be having a little bit of a discussion, mostly about the building and structure editor, but also a little bit about the current state of rendering in Antilia and what we have going on right now. So as you can see on the screen here, I've got our character rendering, and one of the interesting things that we've been working on recently is if I hit F9 here, I've got the deferred lighting solution working in game finally, and it is causing a few artifacts. You might notice these little halos around some of the grass, but I'm aware of those and we're going to sort them out. Another step forward in just getting the style and rendering looking the way we want. But what I mostly want to talk about this week is our structure editor, so I'm going to go ahead and load that up right now. So just to kind of a recap of where we are with the editor right now, I've been changing things around a little bit with the way the user interface is going to appear. You'll notice I got rid of that little building that was appearing in previous videos. And the idea with that was that we would click on things like the roof or the walls or doors, and that would put you into those respective modes for adding doors or roofs or walls. So I think this is going to be a simpler approach and easier for me to implement as well, to just use some little icons up here. So these are kind of like behaving like tabs. I'm not sure how I like that. I was also thinking that for some of these modes like foundation, we really don't need all this space, 20 different subtypes. That would be more for like furniture or wall styles. So in the case of things like foundation tiles, that there's really only one or two styles, I was thinking this whole hotbar could kind of drop down so you only have this top larger row and that bottom row would be hidden. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. The other thing I'm thinking is that I'd like to really communicate well the difference between editing the interior versus the exterior, because that's a core feature of this system. The thing that this building system was designed to do was make it so I can render the interior or the exterior or both. And when we're editing, we're doing both, but it's really important when we walk around the main world that we're not rendering all the interiors of the building, because that would be really bad for performance, of course. So that's something that this editor understands really well, is the interior versus exterior. And that's something I am a little concerned about as a player. When you're editing, you have to understand the difference between those. If you're in an interior mode and you're working on things on the inside, or you're working on the exterior. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's real important that the inside stuff stays inside and the outside outside. So as I work on the editor more, and it's been holding me up just because until you know exactly what you're trying to do, it's difficult to make progress. I keep building stuff and then saying, no, it doesn't make sense from a user interface standpoint. So I'm trying to sort that out so that we continue making progress on this, because this has been kind of a little bit stalled at this point. And I want to get the building editor moving again.
I have a question.
Okay.
How does the editor recognizes that you've placed an object that should be inside, and yet you place it outside the wall, outside the interior?
And that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out and sort out. And one of the things I was thinking was, so we'd have on the left side, these particular modes would be for exterior stuff, and on the right side, you click on, there'll be buttons over here, you click on those, it'll be interior stuff. So if you click on the furnishings button on the right hand side, what I think will happen is everything outside will probably fade down, like become really shadowed, and everything on the interior will be well lit. So when you're positioning furniture, it should be kind of obvious that you're editing, you're positioning it on the inside. This also raises the question, when you create an interior tile, how many resources does it take? Say, how many bricks does it take to make an interior tile? I don't know. I think it's simpler to keep it like a flat cost for an interior tile, which would probably be kind of one of the more expensive things, because you're building, if you build one interior tile, you're going to get a floor, walls where necessary, and a roof. So I would think an interior tile has to be kind of expensive.
You see how many combinations are there when you're creating a house, and calculating a different cost of material for every segment, which there could be almost a limitless number. It would just confuse people. So yes, I recommend a flat price for every tile and segment.
The other way to do this would be don't have the engine generate walls. Make the player lay out the floor, lay out the walls, lay out the ceilings, do everything themselves, and then validate that it's an okay building. I kind of hate that approach though, because then the player has to know all the rules and we have to communicate, oh no, there's an opening here, you have to close the opening. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer the editor fills in the gaps and makes sure that you always can only build things that are valid and correct? Or would you rather you have to do everything yourself and then check some box to make, like the building can be in a bad state and you're not allowed to build it until you actually fix the issues of the building?
The second approach would, in my eyes, prone to a lot of errors. For example, the system would report an error that wouldn't be really visible, and you'd be looking, well, why is it? It's reporting a fault there, but I see nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't want to do it that way, because I just see the exact same thing happening. You create a building, you go to sit, it looks perfect to you, you hit OK, and it says, nope, building not enclosed. And then you're searching through each story trying to figure out where am I breaking the rule? It's like, oh, well, because things can happen. Like you could have a staircase on the lower floor on the exterior that leads up into the interior of the second floor, and you wouldn't see that as being a problem. Whereas the way the system is now, it won't even let you do that, It would always put in a doorway for you. There's always going to be a door there, so you don't have to worry about that happening. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's discussion. Thanks for joining me there, Loco.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and I hope you'll tune in again next time. See you then.
See you later, everyone.
A special thanks goes to this month's Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.